Shalom, shalom. Before I begin this lesson, I want to give all praise, honor, and the glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles, bishop, and elders, a great millstone that rule well, and peace and blessings be multiplied on all you brethren out there teaching his word in all sincerity and in truth. Shalom to the hopeful elect, 144,000, and the rest of the elect out there. Shalom. I'm the brother Dama Gabar, here with another lesson, Lord willing to edify through the spirit and power of Yahweh by Yahweh Shai. All right, I got this article from Zero Hedge. It's a pretty long article, but I'm not going to read it all. But I thought there was very good points in this article, that highlight the manipulation and the system that Esau Edom, the so-called white man, has in place that is playing a heavy role on the mass delusion that a lot of these American people are in, and how a lot of this mass deception and delusion is intentional. All right. And that, this is why we call this man, the devil that the Bible speaks of. And we told you from day one that one of Esau's major components of his madness, and one of the main things that he was slated to do when he got back into rulership during the Renaissance period was to deceive the whole world. And you see, and Esau has a system to where he's, able to manipulate, to deceive, and to, alter the perception of these people's minds to where, they literally believe a lie, to where they can be coerced, they can be manipulated, and they can be misled into believing straight bullshit, man. They can be literally led into believing things that are not even true and end up defending things that absolutely make no sense, things that are just completely stupid, and, find themselves just ultimately being misled and deceived and controlled mentally, man. And this is why we have to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai daily, man, for taking the blinders off of us, for giving us the Holy Spirit, giving us the whole armor of the Most High, so that these tactics of the devil, his delusions, his propaganda, his manipulating of our perception doesn't have a hold on us, man. And we're able to see the truth. We're able to see through his manipulation, his lies, his bullshit. We're able to spot false narratives. And ultimately, our faith and trust is totally in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. But let me start with this precept before I get into this article. All right, this is Isaiah chapter 10, verse 20. It says, "And it shall come to pass in that day that the remnant of Israel and such as are escaped of the house of Jacob shall no more again stay upon him that smote them, but shall stay upon Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, the Holy One of Israel, in truth." You see, in truth. And this is something that the Lord, has given to his elect, has given to, certain Israelites, to have. And this is why you see 2/3 of our people, they don't have the ability to trust upon the Holy One, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, in truth. A lot of our people are still staying upon him that smote them, which is Esau Edom, which ultimately goes into, the lies, all of the BS, the twisted history. Jake still believes in mainstream news. They still watch the mainstream news. Jake don't have, they ultimately just don't believe in the whole truth, the real truth. They're still blinded. They're still manipulated. They're still believing this religion known as Christianity. They believe that, God loves everybody, and, that we're not the Hebrew Israelites, and God don't hate, and he don't, do all of the typical mainstream, worldly viewpoints that Esau has, manipulated and coerced our people into believing. 2/3 of them still trust and stay upon that, which is why when the truth hits them in the face and reality is being brought to them, they don't want any parts of it. They'll continuously defend the mainstream narrative. They'll continue to believe the lie and the manipulated viewpoint that they've been given by their corporate masters. So that's why they fight against the truth. They fight against the prophets. They fight against anything that warps their twisted reality of what is. You see, and they don't even understand that it's all being done systematically and purposely by the damn devil Esau Edom. So I'm gonna read into some of this article. I'm gonna hop around a little bit, but a lot of the things that he's saying in this article, man, hey, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Shai, we've been released from this. But this delusion and this manipulation and this form of witchery and witchcraft and, you know, predictive, you know, not, I don't want to say that, but controlled perception of the reality of this majority of our people is still on them, man. And it's going to be on 2/3 of our people eventually to their own destruction. So let's read some of this. And this is titled The United States of Delusion. It says, if I looked you in the eye and told you the Rocky Mountains don't exist, you think I was crazy. But give me time and I could make you believe it. I wouldn't need threats or force. I wouldn't really even need a good argument. All I need is steady, confident repetition, you see? And that's why they got the phrase, you know, and the white man made this phrase, if you tell a lie long enough, the people will start to believe it. You know, and that's what this man does to these people on mainstream news media, on these major media outlets, you know, and just in these schools, in the classrooms, and just in general. They just repeat lies over and over and over again until eventually the people just believe it. You know, and they'll never look into it themselves. They'll never research it or really go and find the truth of the matter, because ultimately a lot of people are lazy minded and a lot of people are fucking simple. They just believe, you know, it's not that they believe whatever they're told. But like I said, if you keep telling somebody the same thing over and over and over again, and then you get people that they know and somebody else that they know to repeat that lie, then it just becomes a reality, even though it's not. You know, this is how you can make a lie become the truth, is by continuously repeating it over and over. And this is something that Esau learned, because, you know, he's researched these things. He's done heavy, you know, as scriptures say, the heart is deep of these devils, man. They research these things. They research heavily how to manipulate, how to control narratives and all these different things, you know. And one thing they know is if you tell a lie long enough, hey, people will just believe it, you know, wholeheartedly, you know. But let's go here. Where was I? It says, all I need is steady, confident repetition, the kind that comes from voices you already trust, right? So if they can get your favorite celebrities, people on YouTube, people on these podcast platforms, you know, if you watch, you know, everyday mainstream news, people that you see every day, and you come to trust their opinions and what they say, then they can get you to believe full-blown lies, man. And we see this being done every single day, man. People still believe that the earth is flat. People still believe that man came from apes. People still believe a lot of the pseudoscience that Esau presents to them in these schools and in these universities as facts and truths. And it's completely the opposite. All right. It says, say you lived out on the eastern plains of Colorado. The land is flat and the horizon looks empty. You've got a family, you've got a job, a family, responsibilities. You're not driving hours west to confirm whether a mountain range is sitting there. It's not like it's urgent. So you don't push back. You just absorb the disinformation. And soon enough, you're not just accepting the idea, you're defending it. You see? And this is the trick and the manipulation that Esau has been playing on the masses of these people for the longest, man. And 2/3 of our people are still under this mass sorcery of a delusion, man. This is why, you know, here it is all this time. They believe that so-called Jesus is white. But now that the Israelites are coming out here and we're proving the fact that who you call JC, whose name is Yahweh Shai, is a so-called black man, who's the ones that mainly get mad at us for saying that? It's our own people, you know. They'll defend that white Jesus to the day they're put in the coffin. But because now they'll come and say, well, color doesn't matter. Well, why does it matter what color he is? But the whole time that you was perceiving that he was a so-called white man, it was never an issue. But the fact that we're bringing it out that he is a man of color, he would be a so-called Negro today with woolly hair, dark skin, they'll still defend that lie. You know, now we're telling them that the Israelites, the people in the Bible, are people of color. Well, why does color matter? It don't matter if you're green, blue, black, blah, blah, blah. You see, they'll defend that lie that they've been told over and over and over again. And these jakes that do that, they don't really read the Bible. They don't research. They don't go into history. They don't really delve deeply into the scriptures to see the truth for themselves. They just continuously defend the lie that they've been told over and over and over again. And this is a psychological tactic that the enemy has been using on them, and is working to where now it's just on repeat. It's just automatic, you know. It says your identity becomes wrapped in the belief that the world is exactly as you were told it is. And that is the further from the truth, man. Remember, we're dealing with Esau, Edom. We're dealing with the father of lies, the twister of history, a man that's like I said, Revelations 20. Ever since the Renaissance period, the main thing he's done when he got back into rulership in the Renaissance period was to deceive the world, man. You see, and now he's figured out. Now he's mastered the tactic of deception. He's mastered the psychological how to how the brain operates, how to continuously deceive and manipulate and control the minds of the masses, man. See, and this is why you can't be simple. You can't be some bird brain moron just sitting back, just believing whatever you're told. Especially now in these times, we're figuring out that Esau Edom is the damn devil that the Bible speaks of. That he's he's the father of lies. He's a manipulator. He's the damn the wicked. You see, and this is Proverbs chapter 14, verse 15 in the NLT. It says, "Only simpletons believe everything they are told, but the prudent carefully consider their steps." Especially now in this information age, now we know that we're dealing with Esau Edom, the greatest liar, manipulator, corrupter, a liar on the face of the earth. Everything he tells you has to be taken with a grain of salt. Everything that he tells you, you have to understand, for the most part, is majority of it is steeped in lies with maybe a little bit of truth. But it takes, you being prudent and really digging into things that he says to get the whole truth of the matter. It says, "The wise are cautious and avoid danger. Fools plunge ahead with reckless confidence." You see? But that's the point, is that what? Simpletons believe everything that they're told. And like I said, every day on an average basis, you're dealing with a bunch of simpletons that believe everything that they're told. Look at the whole the whole COVID-19 thing. Look how many people just blindly believe everything that came out of the mouth of the so-called experts, everything that they were told about that particular situation. They believed hook, line, and sinker, man. And now coming out that all of it was a bunch of goddamn, people are realizing that they were lied to, that they were deceived, because why? They were just believing everything that they were told on the television instead of, doing their own research, going to these different, because a lot of people was hearing different opinions. They was hearing, alternative news media's perspectives on things. You even had professional, not the so-called professionals or the experts you was given on Fox News and on the mainstream news media, but you had actual doctors and different, scientists that wasn't on the mainstream news media coming in telling you that, what you're hearing on TV is not true. Viruses don't work like that. This is the truth. This, that. But the people who trusted in, the experts, trusted in, the daily, everyday people on the television, they took their perspective of the truth as 100% and everybody else as bullshit and nonsense. You had to wear the mask. You had to stay 6 feet apart. That the lies that they were receiving on mainstream news media destroyed their families. It caused divorces. It broken friendships. It caused people to go back to the spirit world. You see, because this is the type of level of wickedness that we're dealing with. It says, it says any challenge to that belief feels like a personal attack. And then one afternoon you drive a little further than usual, and there it is, the massive immovable Rockies, exactly where they've always been. And instead of asking, why was I misled, you lash out. Who put those mountains here? This disrupts everything. Who do I blame? And people just like you begin insisting that the problem isn't the lie, it's the chain of mountains. Nothing changed about the Rockies, only your relationship to the reality changed. And this is how real manipulation works. And this is what, we're dealing with here in Babylon the Great every single day. You see? And that's why I read that. You can't be a simpleton and just believe everything that you're told. Because the majority, for the most part, everything you're being told, especially on mainstream news media, and everything you're hearing from the so-called white man, Esau Edom, is more than likely a goddamn lie. It's a form of manipulation used to control your emotions, to control what you think, and ultimately to set you up for failure and to put him in a better position and to benefit him and what he's trying to get done. It says, not by controlling your actions, but by controlling the lens you use to see the world. So when reality finally shows up, you treat reality itself as the enemy. You see? And that's what a lot of these people suffer from, normalcy bias, from cognitive dissonance. You see, like Jack Nicholson said, the majority of people can't handle the truth because they've never been told the truth. They've been lied to over and over and over again, man. And but when the truth really comes, they hate it. They fight against it. They lash out. They go crazy. And we see this on a daily day basis, doing our videos, doing our shows out there on the highways and the byways. And as far as, the whole truth of the Israelite movement is concerned, man. And we're seeing this play out in real time. But now we can see who's the culprit behind all of the manipulation. And it says, and this is exactly where America is right now. You see, the same psychological trick is being played on the entire country. For years, people have been told certain problems simply don't exist and that the mountains rising out of our national landscapes are illusion. You see, because a lot of people don't want to believe that, when we go out there and tell them America's going to be destroyed with thermonuclear destruction, that this economy is going to eventually implode. These devils are bringing in the New World Order, prepare for martial law, sedition, uprisings, this third world war is getting ready to happen. People don't want to accept the reality of those things coming to pass because we're because that's ultimately the truth. We're bringing it right out of biblical prophecy through the spirit, power, and the unveiling through the Most High. So therefore, when these people hear things that go against, what they've been lied to about, they lash out. They got a problem. They call you crazy. They leave these crazy comment on the comment boards. They talk all type of shit. Because what you're basically telling them the truth that have never been told, and ultimately they'll never really accept until it's too late. It says the list. The border isn't wide open, and this is just him giving an example, and I'm just using these examples, but I'm relating it to the truth to the Israelites and how 2/3 are constantly caught under this illusion, and how basically the whole world is caught under the delusion of the lies of Esau and the full understanding of the scriptures and just reality in general. It says, the list. The border isn't wide open. Crime is down. Failing schools are fine. Our cities are flourishing. Nothing is wrong with the country's direction. Millions of people have accepted these claims, not because they've verified them, but because they've heard them repeated endlessly by institutions they once trusted. And it show you that, hey, this is a very strong form of witchcraft and sorcery, because here it is. These people will believe these type of things. Meanwhile, their everyday lives is in shambles, man. They're people are complaining about going to the grocery store. The price of shit is too high. People are being priced out of their homes, their mortgage, their house insurance is going up. They're not getting raises. People are losing jobs. People are can't find jobs. Just the reality of this society and this economy tanking. People are literally living in it. They're experiencing it. But since they're being lied to on the television, saying that everything is all right, it's not as bad as you think you are, these people still believe it, even though they're literally living in this failing economy and everything that they suffer on a day-to-day basis as forms of, living in this hellhole. They still believe the lies, man, even though they're literally suffering day in and day out and hanging on by a thread, man, living paycheck to paycheck. A lot of people are not paying their light bill because they got to choose between paying the light bill or putting groceries on the table and feeding their children. They're literally in the circling the drain of this economy. But then again, they'll still believe the lies that everything is okay. We're going to bounce back and it's not as bad as you said. Or that's a hell of a drug, man. That's a hell of some powerful sorcery upon these people, man. But we know better than that, because why? We, the Lord has given us the spirit to see these things, man. All right. We're not so easily deceived by this bullshit. All right. And this is and it's the same when it comes to the scriptures, when we try to break, we tell Jake the Gentiles, the mystery of the Gentiles, which the Gentiles are Israelites, that salvation is only for Israel, that Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are the biblical Israelites. We go into all these precepts, all these breakdowns, going into the Greek, the Hebrew, make it as plain as day, but they still want to be under that lie and deception of God loves everybody in John 3:16. And, all nations can make it, which is just not scriptural. It's not the truth, but they've been lied to for so long that it's impossible for them to see other than what they've been told. And we know ultimately the Lord has a heavy hand in that too, because he wants 2/3 to be deceived. He wants particular Israelites not to be able to understand. And this is Romans Hey, and the Lord is using Esau on the left hand to to make it so. And this is Romans 11:7. It says, "What then? Israel have not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election have obtained it, and the rest were blinded." And ultimately, what? Blinded from the truth, man. A lot of our people are blinded from the 100% truth of the scriptures, but also a lot of Jake is being blinded from, the reality of the world. You know, a lot of them are just blind in general, and they're gullible. And like I read earlier, they're simple, and they believe everything that they're told, hook, line, and sinker, man. And they'll never look into it, they'll never research it, and they'll never be able to obtain the whole truth of the matter at the end of the day, because hey, they were just created to be blind and to play that role. All right. It says, according as it is written, the Most High have given them the spirit of slumber. You see, eyes that they should not see and ears that they should not hear unto this day. Hey, and this truth of the matter, especially, with the scriptures and the prophets, what we're bringing out to Jake is really easy. It's really simple to understand. But the Lord has given them that spirit of slumber, man. He given them the spirit to where they can't see it. They can't put it together. Some of these Israelites out here, they can see certain parts of the things that we bring out. A lot of these jakes can see the slave ships, Deuteronomy 28. There's certain parts of the scriptures that they could see and be like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But when it comes to other weightier matters or things, that are more spiritual, hey, Jake the Lord, they just can't see it, man. The Lord has put the blinders on them. A lot of them have been given over to normalcy bias. A lot of them are just, caught in that spell of deception that they just can't see past. They can't see the more spiritual things that gives you the full complete understanding. It says, I'm reading that again, Romans 11:8, as it is written, the Most High have given them the spirit of slumber, eyes that they should not see and ears that they should not hear unto this day. And David said, let their table be made a snare and a trap and a stumbling block and a recompense unto them. Let their eyes be darkened, that they may not see, and bow down the back always. I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? God forbid. But rather through their fall, salvation is come unto the Gentiles to provoke them to jealousy. And we know those Gentiles that provoked them to jealousy was the Israelites in the Gentile state of mind. Again, this is something that these people can't see. Because immediately when they hear Gentiles, they automatically assume that it's the other nations. They don't even have the eyes to see or the ears to understand that the Israelites became Gentiles. You see, that's something that they can't see, because that's something that they've always been told and lied to for years and years and years in these churches, that whenever you see the word Gentiles, it's always talking about non-Jews, non-Israelites, the other nations, the heathens, which is not always the case. You see, you have to be able to differentiate when it's speaking about a natural heathen Gentile or a Israelite that became a Gentile by worshiping the other idols, that were scattered amongst the heathen nations and worship the gods of the heathen nations that lost their Hebrew Israelite heritage and nationality and became Gentiles through idol worship, and things of that nature. You see? So a lot of people, mainly our people, and not even these people in the world, they're going to remain blinded out here because of the manipulation and the twisted perception that they've been given by these elites. What else is in here? It's a long article. I'm not going to read all this shit. Let me see. Here we go. It says, totalitarian systems have used these methods for more than a century. The architecture of mind control has been studied, refined, tested, and deployed across the world. And that's what I was saying earlier. Esau has mastered, the ability to control these people's mind, to make them believe lies, man, to psychologically F them up. It says propaganda, psychological conditioning, and censorship operate on predictable principles. Once you understand these principles, you start to see them everywhere. You see, and this is why I read earlier at the water Yahweh Bashem Yahushua for giving us the eyesalve, for giving us the eyes to see, giving us the spirit to be broken out of this mind control. Because before we came into this truth, hey, we were under this heavy psychological conditioning and propaganda too, But hey, through the spirit of the Most High, like I read in Isaiah 10:20, we no longer stand upon him that smote us, but in the Most High in truth. You see, we was given that ability to be freed from this fucking these strongholds of the world. It says once you understand these principles, you'll start to see them everywhere, right? And it's true, they are everywhere that you look. All the information that Esau puts out there, all of his everything that he does is steeped in this psychological conditioning, mind control, lies, manipulation, psychological operations, to where he can get you people to believe just about pretty much anything, But we know better than that. We know that everything that Esau does, it's inverted, you know. Everything that he does that has really the opposite. He's trying to do the complete opposite. And this is, well, let me get it, man. This is why we bring the scripture out all the time. Ecclesiasticus chapter 12, verse 10. It says, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. You see? It says, though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust have not been altogether wiped away. In other words, you got to always know that this man is always up to no good, man. Even when he comes humbly, even when he comes presenting himself as really trying to help you. And there are some times where he is doing things that have some type of good in it. He does things sometimes that will benefit you somewhat, but know that the wickedness is going to definitely outweigh the benefits of whatever he's trying to do. It's all a form to get you to let your guard down, to get you to let your guard down and to trust that he has your best interests at heart. But when you look more deeper into it, when you really watch, you're going to see a whole lot of wickedness behind the bullshit, man. All right. And let me jump down here to verse 16. It says, an enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit. And that whole C19er was a prime example of that, man. Oh, we got the experts here, who was he saying? You Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. He literally said it in that order should be the first to go take the remedy for what's ailing the world. And then now we see why he was saying you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans should be the first to take it, because, hey, I'll just leave it at that, man. It says, an enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit. You see, and that's always his agenda. There's always somewhere in it, though he might come humbly. It might have some type form of benefit, but at the end of the day, it's going to be something that's going to always throw you into a pit, that's going to oppress you, entrap you, ensnare you, and give him the upper hand and the advantage, man. This man can never be trusted, man. It says he will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. And if adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first. And though he pretend to help thee, yet he shall undermine thee. You see? And that's what a lot of this psychological conditioning and a lot of the bullshit that he's selling you on these mainstream news media outlets are really all about, man. Deceiving you, man. Putting you in a position to be thrown in the pit, to be snared, to be trapped, to be oppressed, and to give him the upper hand over the situation. This is why he lies about history. He lies about everything, man. It's all so that you could feel comfortable and feeling that you're getting a benefit out of it. But really, he's throwing you into a pit and it's going to put you in a trap, just like he's doing with this whole digital ID and what he's going to do with this, technocracy, this Genesis bullshit, this technocracy he's establishing. It's not for convenience. It's not to let you be able to live to 150 years, to make life go faster and smoother, and to use this technology to make to help you transcend and use Neuralink to make you smarter and more intelligent. No, it's to give him the complete total control over every aspect of your life, put you in a 15-minute city, be able to control what you can buy or sell, give you a universal base of income, so that you don't have to work, so that you can have more time on your hands to do what to do what makes you feel good and give you time to work on your hobbies and your projects. No, it's to put your ass in a goddamn technological prison system, man. You see? But what else is in here? It says, let me see what it's in here. They're just showing you how, they can basically, make anybody, they can paint the picture to make anybody look like an enemy. You see? And that's what they do. Now they're doing a lot of this labeling. Now they could categorize you in these different, they can categorize you by the things that you post online, things that you say, and they can literally make you a fucking enemy of the country by continuously posting you on social media. He got some examples. Let me see. Let me see something. What else? Here's an example. They use this Trump. I don't know. I don't like that one. Here we go. It says, beware the anxiety machine. It says, Trump derangement syndrome is only one expression of the larger psychological breakdown we're living through. The same conditioning that drives people into obsession over Trump shows up everywhere else on the left. Start with the basics, the constant lies about men becoming women. And remember, that's just the opening move. It's the first step in the process. Tell people to deny something obvious, force them to repeat it, and eventually you condition them to accept any contradiction. You're right. And this is what these devils do on a day-to-day basis, man. You see? It says, then look at climate hysteria. There are grown adults, not children, not teenagers, adults who lose sleep because they're convinced themselves climate change is going to make humanity extinct. That's a real documented phenomenon on the left, but think about what that means. For instance, people refusing to have children because of what left-wing propaganda has done to their minds, people who sincerely believe there is a genocide against trans people because we don't think a 200-pound bearded man should be competing in girls' athletics. This was once on the fringe. Has now become the left's mainstream opinion. And of course, the CV fits right into this. The madness of Fauciism was never just about public health. It was about Pavlovian style social conditioning. The ideal is simple. Create a stimulus, attach an emotional reaction, repeat until the reaction becomes automatic and bypass the rational mind entirely. And this is why the reality of anti-Trumpism is what it is today. Absurdity on a loop. The Russian collusion hoax, the endless prosecutions, the Epstein insinuations, the constant coordinated lies. For people rooted in reality like you and me, we haven't handed over our brains to the system. You're part of money and power precisely because you still trust your five senses as well as your gut. Right. And this is just showing you the examples of how these devils push this psychological conditioning upon the people. But like I said, hey, man, all praise to Yahweh Bashim Yahushua for taking us out of this bullshit, man. All right. And this is Ephesians chapter 4 and 14. It says that we henceforth be no more children tossed to and fro and carried about with every wind of doctrine by the sleight of men, you see. And this is what Esau has mastered, the sleight of men. Let's get this word, the psychological conditioning, mind manipulation, perception control. And the word for sleight is a kubia. It says the deception of men because dice players sometimes cheated and defrauded their fellow players. It says sleight, artifice or fraud. You see, sleight, really just sorcery, a manipulation, deception. And that's what everything you see on this man's mainstream media is all about. And everything that he pushes is all about the sleight of men, telling you it's one thing, but really it's another. You see, it says, and cunning craftiness. Let's go to this word craftiness, because that's what Esau is. He's a crafty bastard, man. And the word crafty is a panu ugria. Let's get him to say it.
Strong's G 3834, panorgia. Panorgia.
Panorgia. It says craftiness, cunning, a specious or false wisdom. You see, in a good sense, prudence, skill, and undertaking and carrying on affairs. Well, in Esau's case, it's on the left hand. Now, you can be on the left hand and wickedness, be prudent and skillful and doing things very at a high level and craftiness and sorcery. And that's what this man has mastered, man. It tells you that about the serpent in the garden. He was more cunning, than all the other beasts in the field. You see? And this is something that Esau has mastered. Look at this. It says adroitness, in a bad sense, trickery or sophistry, cunning, craftiness, subtlety, man. And that's what this shit that Esau is doing is all about, man. But like I said, if you don't have the eyes to see nor the ears to hear, then this crafty cunningness is going to play. It's going to do a number on you. It's going to work on you, hook, line, and sinker, man. You see? Yeah, it says Look at this. It says it starts with constant emotional pressure, fear, outrage, shame, moral panic, keep people in a heightened state of emergency and their rational defenses weaken. Then comes isolation, not necessarily locking people in their homes, but wailing them off from honest dissent. Next, you elevate certain narratives until they feel like morally mandatory. Good people believe, bad people question it, you see? And that's what they do. You know, and that's what Trump bitch ass does, you know, people that question him, that ask him about the Epstein shit, that questions him about things that they don't want you talking about. Oh, you're stupid. You're this. Oh, you're false news media. You know, they'll attack you for questioning. They'll attack you for not believing, you know, not swallowing the shit, as Gerald Celente would say, you know. It says, then you punish doubt. You don't have to arrest anyone. Well, not yet, but we see that's going to eventually be a thing too. It says you don't have to arrest anyone. You just make skepticism costly. People learn to self-censor long before anyone has to silence them. Once a person believes the sky is yellow instead of blue, power trippers can do the real work of rewriting his worldview from the inside out. At that point, you don't need to win arguments. You just need to keep reinforcing the script. That's when you can tell someone there is no mountain, and they'll defend that narrative to the death, even when they're standing at its base. You can tell them that a man could become a woman, and they'll treat skepticism as moral failure. You can tell them that climate will destroy humanity in 10 years' time, and they'll rearrange their lives accordingly. If you don't understand how the disconnection from reality happens, you can't arm yourself or the people you care about against the same process. See? So that's what this man has been doing in a major way. And I'm going to close it. I got one more. Here we go. This is Proverbs chapter 27, verse 12. It says, a prudent man foresees dangers and takes precautions. The simpleton goes blindly on and suffer the consequences. You see? And that's what you're going to see happen to a lot of our people, man. So they're not prudent. They're not foreseeing the evil. They don't see what this man really has in store for them in the future. So therefore, a lot of them are going to blindly believe it until they're trapped into this system, until they're trapped into a world they can't get out of. And only once they're finally, it's kind of like once they're in that trap, once they're in the mousetrap, then they realize that they fucked up and that they've been duped and that they should have never believed the bullshit that they were being told in the first place and that they were lied to. So with that, I'm going to close it there. Lord willing, this was edifying. I'm going to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai for putting the spirit in me and do this lesson. Lord willing, you are edified. To the next one, shalom.